When you make all of your friends in your adolescence on YouTube, you have lots of people who live all over the world. You do lots of visiting them and they do lots of visiting you. So I have a ton of experience being both a host and a guest, and people ask me sometimes for tips on both. So here are some of my observations and my recommendations. We're going to start with the guest side of things, and we're also going to level up here from couch surfing. If you're in the couch surfing phase of life, no disrespect, we have all been there, but as someone who could theoretically afford to have a hotel when I go to visit friends, I always feel like I want to be a little more than the most basic courteous level of a guest. If you're traveling with a spouse or a family, I think it's really good to, recognize that this is a really nice thing for your host to do and to try to be as conscientious and courteous as possible. Call me old-fashioned, that's how I was raised. So to begin with, I think bringing something, no matter how little when you walk in the door, is really nice. It is, again, traditional, but it doesn't have to be a bottle of wine. It can be, 2 cupcakes that you bought somewhere, or a small thing of chocolate, or one of my friends brought a succulent plant one time and I was like over the moon. I'm sure it cost like $5 or $10, but I kept that thing for a year until it died on me, and I was so pleased just to see it. It's nice. It just starts out your interaction and your weekend or your, a few days during the week on a nice note. I find it's helpful to try to give your host as much information about your schedule up front as you can. Let them know when they can expect to have some downtime and to be alone in their place. If you eat some of their food or drink some of their booze, consider replacing it or paying for a meal or a breakfast, whatever, when you guys are out together. And thank you notes are really classy. Whether or not you leave something when you go or you mail something afterward, just that 50-cent card and that 47-cent stamp or whatever, again, it's just classy, it's nice, it shows that you were being really thoughtful and that you are genuinely really grateful for whatever your friend did. And from the hosting side, some of the same recommendations apply. I think it is great to let your guest know when you are going to be out, what your schedule is like. Sadly, I have to leave really early in the morning. It is 6 in the morning right now. So I'd say to my friends, listen, this is the situation. Here are the keys. Here's how to lock the door. I'll be leaving at this time, but we can meet up, whatever, at 6 o'clock after the workday. Speaking of which, it's great to make sure that they have an extra set of keys if you're comfortable and if you have one available. I also have a card with my apartment address, with the Wi-Fi name and password, and a set of instructions on operating the shower, which is a little bit tricky, and closing the door and locking it behind you. It's useful to have this written down one time that you can reuse again for a bunch of guests. I also like to make sure that there are a few just little hospitality things that my guest might need just set up next to the bed. So a trash can, some tissues, a glass that they can get themselves water with, and a towel, all in plain sight. It's just nice to do as much up front as possible so your guest has the fewest questions to ask and then feel awkward about asking. Also often leave some fruit or granola bars in plain sight on the kitchen counter. When people are here in New York City, they usually don't want to take a bunch of time out to go find in a weird neighborhood food for themselves. So I think it's just, a nice touch. You should clean before your guest gets there. Use the guest as a motivator to clean your place. And of course, afterward, having a guest in your place is a great excuse to clean all your linens or to really deep clean your bathroom. And also defend your boundaries. If you don't want to host somebody, or you can't, or if you're really squeezed, like this is the 2 days that you have at home between work trips, you can say no. As a guest, I would much prefer to know if my host genuinely couldn't host me than to sort of infringe on their space and feel like they don't really want me there, or next time for them to be kind of resentful about my asking. And plus, that way when you do host your friends, you really want to be doing it and you're really glad to have them there. So definitely boundaries, yay. I'll link my boundaries video in the description as well. Those are my recommendations for being an extra A+ bonus star host and guest. Let us know if you have recommendations or fun stories from your time as a host or a guest in the comments, and I will see you tomorrow.